Ladyada.
Hi, everybody. Okay, well, I'm still recovering from being a little under the weather the last couple of weeks,
Yes, but your pixels look great.
but my pixels look great, so that's why I look. People are like, "Why do you look so bad?" I'm just very sick and tired. I'm sick and tired. But I'm working on some audio stuff, so let's go to the overhead. I'm not gonna. I actually took my speaker, so I can't do a live demo, but on the overhead, I can show off the um latest version of the TLV 320 DAX. This is the board we were working on a couple weeks ago, and I had like all that speaker headphone pinout confusion. Well, it's good now, and this board's actually finished, and I'm actually ordering the final PCBs. Um, I've got the headphone is now correct, and it's also got the proper headphone detection. I can detect when a headphone is plugged in over I2C. Um, the speaker doesn't interfere. I mean, there's still a little bit of buzz when the speaker class D is on and the headphone is on at the same time. So, you just should pick one or the other, basically. The headphone doesn't interfere with the speaker, but the speaker interferes still a tiny little bit with the headphone, but it's not really noticeable. The audio is really good quality. So this is going to be in the store like in the next week or so. We'll get these all fabbed up and ready to go. And this is good because this is the same um, audio amplifier that's used on the Fruit Jam board, which we have dubbed Fruit Jam because we kept trying to find a better name, and we decided just to stick to the name we've got. So let me show. I just had it with me. Here it is, my gigantic pile of boards. So this is the Fruit Jam Rev A, and so I've updated this to be Rev B, and here is the Rev B. So Rev B has a couple things going on with it. I mean, I didn't have these last week, and so last week I was like, oh, let's source some parts for the Fruit Jam board, but then I got them and I booked it all. Almost everything is the same. It still has the on-off switch and the USB hub, two AJAX. Scott wanted more pins brought out on the GPIO, so this is 2x16 now, and so you get these 5 analog pins, 5 digital pins, power and ground, and then they're not labeled, but there's like I2C SPI, and then another of the USB hub pin sets. Although it turns out I made a mistake on the LED, so I have to swap them around. So there's more GPIO. I moved the speaker over here, and on the Great Search also, we're going to look for a possible speaker that we could place in here. Still have the 5 NeoPixels. Got rid of the iSpy connector, which was mostly just like, I don't know, I had like no other thing to put there, so I got rid of this. And instead I put on an ESP32C6. I really need to start testing this. I've just been, like I said, quite under the weather, but testing this out with, I know that there's like a micro SD jack here. I'm like kind of annoyed. I don't like putting big metal chunks next to the antenna, but I think it'll radiate far enough. Then like, yeah, it's annoying that over here it's kind of blocked, but I think it'll radiate out enough this way that it'll be fine. And this would be like an airlift Wi-Fi, maybe BLE coprocessor. Phil, you really wanted me to add an IR input, so I added one. And then Scott wanted me to move the HDMI DVI port over to give more space here compared to the previous one, which had everything sort of jammed up one after the other. He's like, no, I need more room. So I gave them more space, and then I stuck the headphone out the side because the speaker port moved over here instead, and then still have the 3 buttons to my QT. So not a lot, actually almost none of the pins changed. Oh, I also fixed like the USB hub had a little like a power fluctuation issue where it has a built-in 3.3 volt regulator, but I was feeding it 3 volts from an external regulator, and so it would get like very confused when it was depowered. But the flash and RAM, like almost everything's the same. I just kind of like tweaked it. Like I said, I really need to do like the final hardware tests on it, and then I want to book PCBs to get them because we're actually getting a lot of cool stuff done with it. I want to get these into people's hands. Speaking of some of the stuff that we've been doing this week, this is Jepler's last week. He's going on an amazing European adventure. He told us like a year ago, so it's all good. He's a core contributor to CircuitPython and also does a lot of awesome projects. And the last thing he's working on before he leaves is porting the UMAC emulator, which is an emulator that runs on the Pico, like the RP2040, to the 2350, but like all of the extras that the Fruit Jam has. So, for example, this is the hardware DVI output. So the original Fruit Jam used VGA. The original UMAC port used VGA. Actually, quite a few like ports for for stuff on RP2040 use VGA because there's like and then you use a VGA to HDMI adapter. But this is actually true DVI output. And then getting audio working, getting PSRAM working. It's like, and getting the mouse fixed up. So actually a lot of development has happened recently. It's been 2 weeks since we last did a show, so I don't even remember, but I can. So one thing is the mouse is working really nicely now. Another thing is the emulation speed. So the only reason this is very clunky is because I'm looking at this while my mouse is over here, and it's very hard to control a computer looking in different directions. So it's got 4 megs of RAM, and that's PSRAM. So it is using PSRAM. We're not overclocking yet, but it seems to be like pretty much Mac plus 4 megabyte speed. Of course, you could bump this up to 8 megabytes of RAM because we have 8 megabytes of PSRAM. The video buffer is copied to SRAM every frame. So you've got this like 512 by 353 pixel monochrome display. And because we've got that fairly good high speed emulation, 4 megabytes of RAM, we're actually able to run System 6. I was able to run System 7, but like System 7 is like really slow on a Mac Plus. Like it's kind of annoying. So System 6 is kind of what most people recommend, and I sort of agree. And another thing that Jetblur got going is you can load images to boot off of the SD card. So this disk drive, which is a 12 megabyte disk, is on the micro SD card plugged in. So it's like very easy to run new software. So the thing that's been exciting is that we now have audio working. So, for example, Crystal Quest, which I've never played before, but has a lot of audio. So I'm going to look over here because I can't play while looking in the opposite direction. And I have this little microphone. So yeah, it might be like weird. And how do I? Let's go. Start game. Yeah, okay. So okay. This is like a really. By the way, like all these games are really. I vaguely remember playing this. It's like the hardest part is leaving. Okay, so hopefully that audio came through. I can quit. Maybe it's just to die. 1 second. I actually didn't like figure out how to quit. Okay, let me see. God. Can't I quit? Hold on. You know what? I'm just gonna hit reset. That's one way to quit. I actually don't know like all the key command. Like it's not like it is now with computers where it's always like Control Q or Escape or whatever. The other thing we got going. So there's a couple games that I've been playing. I'll try to do a Dark Castle demo in a moment. Mac Paint I did. So there's 2 ways of doing. Let me see. I can do After Dark, and I can do toasters. There's 2 ways of doing audio on. There's 3 ways of doing audio on the 68,000 series Mac. So there's one way where you actually use a timer to create like a PWM signal, basically. And luckily, almost like nothing uses that because it's just a straight tone. Then there's the way where you throw bytes of data into there's a sound buffer, and you get 1 byte per scan line. there's 370 scan lines, 60 frames per second. It multiplies out to be 22 kilohertz. So you get 22 kilohertz, 8-bit audio, and it's like PWM. And so that's what a lot of games like Crystal Quest, these flapping flying toasters, Dark Castle, like almost everything uses that way of doing audio. However, there's apparently another more advanced way of doing audio where you use this off-board timer chip. There's a peripheral chip called like the VIA timer, the VIA, which is like a generic purpose like coprocessor chip for the Mac. 68,000. It did like it did a lot of like the offloading of stuff like timing and shuffling data around, so like the main processor could keep working because I guess it didn't have timers built in. And so you have to emulate this off-board chip as well, which is not done. And like I said, not all audio uses it. Some does. So for example, Glider, the game plays, but there's no sound because the timer is used for some element of the audio generation, and we haven't emulated it. And we tried to emulate it, like our first initial attempt ended up just causing like a lot of hard faults because we would set off the IRQ too often. We have to basically there's all these like things you have to do. Maybe I'll try to look up the chip. It was the Mac 1600 VIA timer. Hold on. It's the 6522. Yeah, and look, let's see if I can get. There was the data sheet. I can't remember where it was.
Let's just do a fast ink display.
Yeah, no, you well, this could run. Actually, it's funny. You could run this not e-ink, but there's like the transflective displays and stuff. Let me see. Yes, maybe go to the computer. I don't know what I'm clicking here, but maybe this has something useful. This is like inside Mac. I mean, what's funny is that like, yeah, the VIA, and some of it is implemented, but not all of it. And like all the documentation is these cool hand typed. Sorry, the SYS the SYS 56522. Yeah, this I was like, what was the name of it again? The Synertech chip. So this chip did. That's cool. You can like buy it from eBay for $20. So this chip did like, I think keyboard, mouse, UART. It did like a lot of stuff, and it was like an 8-bit interface. We don't make cool logos like this anymore. It's kind of a bummer. So yeah, not everything is implemented porting it, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get it done. Maybe not. So there's some games that don't work with audio, but like a large number of them do. But yeah, if they're using this timer, like I said, that the audio stops working. But the system sounds work fairly well. So the next step is to just get it to use the onboard amplifier. How are we doing on time? Okay, perfect. So maybe what I'll do real fast, let me turn this off. I can maybe like really quickly let me try this. So on my computer, I have all these images. And so the images has to be written in the right name. And then let's go back to the HDMI, the DVI output. And then we'll see if it'll boot up. This is system 3. I actually haven't tested this in a little bit. It's going to come up. Okay. So, yeah, weirdly enough, you can't run Dark Castle from within System 6. You have to run it like through the System 3, boot drive. So I suck at this game. I've always sucked at this game. I don't think I ever got like past I don't know. I'm just gonna die in a second. Watch this. Watch this. Ah. Okay. Quit. I don't want to. I don't embarrass myself with how bad I am at Dark Castle. It's been like 40 years since I played it, but it works with audio, so good for people who want to do their retro. Okay, so let's go back to the computer and let's do a great search, which will be for the Viet now. And it's not for the 6522 via coprocessor. Although it would be really handy if these were like available from DigiKey. They're not. These haven't been available for decades. So let's go find.
Where in the world is that part I need? The great search with DigiKey.
Okay, so we're going to do the great search. And for the great search today, as always, I look on digikey.com to find the parts that you need. And I show you how to use the searching interface, which is always exciting because DigiKey stocks millions and millions of things. All you have to do is know where to find them. So this week, let's look for a through-hole speaker. So if you go to the overhead, I'll show off this board, which I was just demoing. And I want to put a speaker here. So we have a little speaker connector, but I want to have the option of having a through-hole speaker. And so it might not come soldered in, but people could solder it in if they want. They would have onboard audio when they're emulating a computer. So one thing to note is that I need it to be the diameter of, 3/4 of an inch, 0.78, 0.77 inches, or about 20 millimeters. So let's see what is available. Oh, and the driver that I'm using, this TLV320 DAC, can do 4 or 8 ohms mono. So, and I can do up to like a watt, or 2 watts, but I'm not expecting to get a 2-watt speaker. It's going to be like less than a watt, which is okay. I'll just reduce the audio so it doesn't blow out the speaker. So let's go to DigiKey at the computer and let's search for speaker. Okay. Oh, there's a lot of speakers. So the first thing is, obviously, I want to make sure I'm looking at active ones because I have to be able to buy these. And I don't care too much about this shape, but let's do normally stocking. You'll note there's actually, it's kind of exciting. There's a new thing, tariffed products with the new tariffs going to hit very soon, like in April. That can make a really big difference in pricing. Okay. We're not going to look at that. Well, maybe we'll cover that in a future one. Impedance, it can be 4 to whatever, 16 ohms. I think that's fine. Yeah, kiloohms is way too much. 4 to 8 is ideal, but let's be generous here. We want magnetic or dash, which is probably default, not a piezo. So let's filter those out. Okay. Next, I'm going to deal with like the resonancy and the sound pressure level. The most important thing is the diameter, right? Because we mentioned we have a very fixed amount of space, and it's not a ton of space. It's like 0.75 inches or less. So, or like 20 millimeters or less. And I want it to be a fair size. I'm going to say like no less than 10 millimeters. I'll look at some of these oval ones, but I'm just going to select all of these sizes. Let's go till I get, oops, sorry, clicked up too quickly. Let's just say up to 20. Maybe I'll grab these like 20 by. Okay, cool, great. Let's look at these. That's a lot less. Okay, these are all looking good, but one thing I definitely want is I want like a PC pin type like this. See, so this is a, what are these called? PC pin, not solder pad or spring type, because I want this to solder into place. So let's go for the pin termination. Wire leads, I mean, I guess I could be okay with wire leads as long as they were short. I don't want solder pads or tabs. I don't want quick connects. I want PC pins. Maybe I'll pick up dash as well. Okay. and see what we get. Okay, these are looking pretty good. So, now that I'm looking at these, I don't actually want the wire termination. I really do just want pins because I don't want it to be flopping around. It's like I already have a connector. So I'm actually going to change the termination, get rid of wire connector. All right, let's see. Okay, so now I've got 18 results, which is much better. These look good. I do like some of these I'm not convinced that they have PC pins. I think some of these don't have any. Let me see what the contact is. PC pins, PC pins. If they don't say PC pin, they actually aren't. They're just solder pads. So I'm also going to get rid of this to be very specific. Okay, 11 options. So these are some really good options. All of them have pins. They plug in. That's nice. Nice, nice, nice. Wow, this one is huge, 1 watt, but I think, oh no, sorry, 300 milliwatt. So these are washable. I don't really care about that because it's going to be attached on after the fact. Let's see about the ohms. Like I said, 4 to 8 ohms is ideal. These are all 8 ohms. Some are louder, some are not. I'm just going to look at also next up maybe pricing to compare and contrast them. I don't like this little flat one. I'm not completely convinced that this is truly PC pin. Let me see if I can look at or if they do, maybe from the image, I don't think this is truly PC pin. I like this one and this one. These both have lots in stock and they're not too expensive. And I like the little plug-in style. Let me see. This one does 1.2 kilohertz to 20. That one does 30. This one's a little bit louder. I kind of think I want louder more than, and it's also a teeny bit smaller. So I actually think this is going to be my choice. So it has a slightly higher resonant frequency. It's not going to be good for bass, but honestly, most PC audio is fairly high pitched. They weren't very bass heavy to start with. Even the original Mac Plus did have, it had a speaker. It was good for beeps and some sound effects. It wasn't amazing. I like that it's a third of a watt, so it's gonna be nice and loud. And the price is pretty good. $165 per. This will be really easy for people to solder in if they want an onboard speaker. Kind of there's just these 2 big pins and that's it. Pop it through, solder, clip it. So this is my choice. You can see the 3D model. Not too big. Plenty of space. And I also, like I said, I don't want it to, I could fit a bigger one, but let's look back at the PCB. This was what, 15 millimeters? So yeah, this is 15 millimeters. So plenty of space and it won't get in the way of these connectors and stuff. Okay, so it's gonna be my pick. So CVS 1508 is my pick for the Great Search. Thank you, DigiKey.
Where in the world is that part I need? The Great Search with DigiKey.
Okay, that's our show. Thanks for bearing with me. You got to see some cool Mac emulation, lots of live shows this week. Check out our Alarmo video that we did with iFixit. Also, I did a video with Arduino for Arduino Day. I believe they played it. If not, yeah, they did. Okay, great. And it's on the blog. Sorry, I don't remember. I did the video. So you can check it out. We talk about the past and future of Arduino, including AI, Zephyr, Python microcontrollers, new chips, and IoT and EdgeML, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually a good conversation with the Arduino folks. And we'll see more videos for Fruit Jam. If you like it, sign up. It's in the Adafruit shop. We'll get that hardware out as soon as we finish testing it. Thanks, everybody.